Sorry. Oh, my horses.
Okay, look at me. And you're on.
Good evening, everyone in Silas City and Moncure. Are you ready for tonight's presentation? Okay. Well, we're ready for you. Have a couple of little housekeeping things that I just want to tell you about. One, please, students, please fill out the student registration form. Fill it out the front and the back, and please turn that in before you leave today's session. The other is that we would like for you to please fill out this evaluation form because we do plan to have this program again, and we just want to make sure that we are meeting the needs of the students that are attending this presentation. So again, all students, please fill out the registration form, hand it in before you leave today, and please fill out this financial training evaluation form and turn that in also. Okay, we're going to be starting in just a couple of minutes. We want to give you time to fill out especially the student registration form at this time.
Will you say it one more time? I just had a third side join. I'm sorry.
Is this Moncure or? I don't know. Okay, another site just joined us, so we want to really make sure that you catch up with everyone else. Every student should fill out this student registration form. There's a front as well as a back. Please, students, fill this out and turn it in before you leave class this evening. The other is that we would like for you to please complete this evaluation form. This is really important. This is our report card. This lets us know if we met your needs, exceeded what you had expected, so that we can replicate this program and, of course, make it even better the next time around. Okay? So don't forget, fill the evaluation form out, submit it before you leave, and please complete the student evaluation form front and back. Thank you.
Sure, 6 minutes.
We're going to be starting in 6 minutes.
Do you get good reception in here for cell phones?
I was able to.
Yeah. What kind do you have? Which one? Verizon? I have Verizon.
No, I think it's Spruce Mobile.
Which one is yours, sir? Is it T-Mobile?
Spruce Mobile.
T-Mobile, somehow Chatham is kind of...
Let me step out.
Uh-oh, there's Michelle. Hey, Michelle, what's going on?
Did you want something?
Yep. Hey, Michelle, it's Vicky. Oh, that's a bummer. Okay, so if you have a question, you'll have. That's right. There's Lily. Yeah. Well, okay, so. Okay, well, let me. All right, well, that's kind of strange. So if anything changes, type in the, if you have a question, then can you text from there? Text me your questions. Okay, so text me if you have a question, and then as well, make sure that's what we started. We said, please complete the student application, the paperwork, because we really, oh, good. Okay, good. Will you bring those to me tomorrow? Well, we have our board meeting, 3:45 to 5:45. We're going to end it. Okay. And what was I going to say? Okay. And talking about the photo I sent you. Did you not get my text? Oh my gosh, on Thanksgiving morning. Oh, okay. So I'm gonna, all right, well. Yeah. Oh. Can you email it to me? Can you take that photo and email it to me? All right. So let me just tell you on Thanksgiving morning, I sent you a picture of my platter. Oh, did you? Okay. I was like, I can't believe Michelle did not see that. Okay, it was just so funny though, because I was like, what? Because I hadn't seen it, since a year ago. Okay, all right. Okay, hey, how many do you have tonight? Oh, you have 7? Good. That's amazing. You're amazing. Okay, thanks. Bye.
Hey, Miss Vicky.
How are you?
Doing good. Oh.
So we're online, just letting you know, everybody can see you guys.
Okay.
Just so you know. And so we have, when you guys are ready.
Okay.
Just let you know, it's 6 o'clock. If you want to start, and do you have the water?
Good evening, everyone. Welcome to the financial literacy class. This is actually the last and final class for this particular session, or classes that we're going to be doing. Hopefully next year we'll be able to critique what we actually did well, things that we can actually improve on, and come back next year and just dive a little deeper. So we're actually going to pick up from where we left off week before last. We were talking about home ownership, and I'm going to just recap just briefly about some things on home ownership. With home ownership, like I said week before last, that buying a home will be one of the largest purchases that you will ever make. So you want to make sure that you are definitely buyer ready. So you want to make sure that you're buyer ready. And how do you actually go about doing that is that you want to make sure that you have a plan, that you have a savings, that you've met with various things that we talked about as far as meeting with your lender to see how much you can actually qualify for. Once you actually do that, that's whenever you want to go and actually start looking at the homes. We actually said you don't want to go look at a house and fall in love with it and then find out that you're not able to actually qualify to purchase that home. So in order to save you some headaches and heartaches, make sure that you get pre-qualified first, or pre-approved I should say, because pre-qualification is basically information that you're sharing and it has not been verified. So pre-approval, that's more, it's validated more with the lender, and it weighs a lot heavier. So you want to make sure that you get a pre-approval, and from there they can actually, the lender will let you know how much you actually qualify for. And from there you want to actually seek out your realtor. And we said that a realtor should be someone that you know, or someone that you've been referred to. Make sure that they do have experience. There's someone that you can actually trust. And you can do your due diligence as far as actually vetting that particular realtor. You can sit down and have a discussion with them to see if that's the person that you want to represent you in this transaction with actually, the home purchase. You don't have to go with that person, so you just want to make sure that you feel comfortable, you have a comfort level, that you trust that individual. And then once you do choose that person, that's when you want to go ahead and sign what we call an exclusive listing, an exclusive buyer agency relationship. And then that person can actually, the realtor can actually go over that particular form with you. So whenever you are finding a home, if you happen to find something on your own, you want to make sure that you deal exclusively with that particular realtor. Even if you see another house that's listed by someone else, the realtor can still help you to purchase that home. A lot of times people think just because it's listed with another company or listed with another realtor that you have to go with that particular person that has listed the property, and that's not so. So that's why you want to also make sure that you stick with your realtor, because they will be able to help you understand and help you through the process of actually trying to purchase that home. If you see something that you like, just reach out to your realtor. Okay, so that's just a brief synopsis. So I'm going to actually pick up where we left off as far as, I think we left us towards the different types of loans that you can actually get whenever you are purchasing a home. And normally your lender, remember I said you want to make sure that you have a relationship with your banker. So the first place that you want to go to, or that you should go to, is to your banker to actually get pre-approved or pre-approved for your home, because your banker is going to let you know basically you have that relationship. A lot of times they have different incentives that they can actually give you whenever you're actually getting ready to purchase a home. Sometimes in our situation, they can give you so much towards your down payment. You could get so much off there. You can get so much off of your origination fee. So there's a lot of different variables and benefits if you actually go with your institution. So they will actually let you know what type of loan you qualify for, and the various types of loans. We have the USDA. A USDA, that's normally good for a first-time home buyer, and there's a lot, you have to stay within a certain median, but your lender, again, will explain all those things to you.
I used USDA for my mortgage, and my lender was very good at telling me what I needed in order to get pre-qualified. So typically you can get, if you have a 640, you can get pre-qualified. I think they made some changes recently, right, as low as a 620. No down payment. I didn't have any money down. I had to bring all the same paperwork, but there were a lot. I get a $2,000 credit every year from North Carolina Housing Agency, and that is so I can get a credit on my tax return. So one downfall to a USDA, if you don't put money down, you'll have to pay private mortgage insurance depending on the loan and the value of the home. So I had to also put that in my escrow. So that's an additional expense that I didn't calculate in as far as the payment that I wanted to pay. So that's one disadvantage I found to doing the no money down program, but that was it. Yeah. Right.
Right. And so USDA is really good
program.
FHA, that's another one. Conventional, new construction. Sometimes customers look at that. If you qualify for a new construction loan, those are really good as well. Remember, I said week before last, that you want to make sure, if you're a first-time home buyer, make sure that you stay away from what we call an adjustable rate mortgage. Do not, again, I cannot stress that enough, do not do an adjustable rate mortgage. Basically, it is what it says, is that your rate is going to adjust. And there's different times that rate would actually adjust. If you have a 3-year adjustable, a 5-year adjustable, and if it adjusts to whatever we call the LIBOR, it's what the ceiling is for that particular loan, it could actually knock you out of where you're able to afford it. And that's what happened back in 2008, whenever for the market to actually crash. A lot of people, whenever they got into these arms and whenever it adjusted, they were not able to sustain the mortgage payment. So therefore a lot of homes went into foreclosures, and it was just a snowball effect. So again, if you're a first-time home buyer, make sure that you stay away from that. Just get a fixed rate mortgage. That way you know that your payments is going to be the same every time. Can you want to add to that?
No, that's good.
Okay. All right. Some of the things too, whenever your lender tells you that and you actually go and actually find the home that you want, make sure, I told you before, dream, 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 okay? So make sure that you're looking for a home that you're gonna stay in for a while, okay? So you wanna make sure that you're looking for something that's gonna have value, or the value is not gonna depreciate. So you wanna make sure that you look at as far as if it's in, if anything is gonna be built around there that's actually gonna bring the value down. Sometimes churches, if it's around a church or something, unfortunately, sometimes those things actually do play a big role in the value of your property. So just kind of keep that in mind to make sure that your realtor is letting you know if there's any type of building projects or any type of road constructions or anything like that that's going to be coming through your area of the property that you're actually looking at, so it won't affect your property value. So just kind of keep that in mind.
Yeah, even to add one thing to that, even if they're going to do something in a neighborhood where the community will have to pay for that, what is that called? Like maybe if they're going to redo the street eventually the next year, and then part of the payment is going to fall back on the people that live on that street.
HOA?
Yeah, HOA, and then also just to think private roads.
Right, private roads.
Yeah, private roads.
Right.
That's something that you would have to calculate and consider, you know, whenever you are looking to get your first home.
Yeah, so make sure that you're actually having those conversations with, that's your realtor should be the one to let you know all about that. They should, he or she should know what actually is going to be coming through, you know, that particular area and the property that you're actually interested in purchasing. So just kind of keep those things in mind. Again, make sure the house that you want, you're going to be there for a while. Normally the rule of thumb is that you want to be in your house at least 3 to 5 years in order to get out of it what you put into it.
And also, if you're on the USDA loan, there's a recapture fee, and what that is if you sell your home before a certain period of time, then that's going to be tacked on to the amount that your payoff to your mortgage. So, for instance, I'm in a 10-year period. So the recapture fee, it goes down every year, but right now, if I was to move out of my house after being there 4 years, I would have an additional $5,000 on top of my payoff whenever I get ready to sell my house. So like that's things that you need to find out as well on the different loan types, because it does make a big difference. So, but 3 years is definitely, what she's saying is true, but just look at the type of loan you have too, because USDA does have some of that. Down payment grant assistance also, you have to live in your house 10 years a lot of times before you can sell, or you will have to pay the grant money back. So that's one thing to ask too, as far as the type of loan that you receive.
So whenever you're getting your loans and everything, make sure that you ask questions. We're going to talk about that later as far as communication. You want to make sure that you ask questions. If it's something you don't understand, ask. Okay, no question is a dumb question. It's best for you to be, be safe than sorry. Well, I didn't know that, but make sure that you don't be afraid to ask questions. Okay. The next thing, once you actually find the house and everything that you actually like, you just love it. You want to let your realtor know, I want to submit an offer. Again, I think I touched on this briefly. Do not lowball an offer. If you see a house that's $150,000 and you actually put in offer, well, let me offer 100 just to see what, that's really an insult, and you're really wasting, the seller's time, and you're wasting, your realtor's time. So don't lowball an offer. If it's something that you really like, your realtor should be able to let you know, well, I think we should go in at this particular offer. We can see what they say, and then, come back and go from there. So once you actually decide that the offer is accepted, these are the documentations that you want to submit now to your lender. You're actually ready for the processing part of your loan. So the lender is going to require the executed purchase contract, 2 months of your banking statements, you can jump into this, 2 months of your pay stubs, your W-2s, your driver's license. So then that's where now your approval process is actually taking place. So they're going to actually go through all of that with a fine-tooth comb to make sure that there's no red flags, what we call as an underwriter. There's no red flags that's actually going to prevent you from actually getting the loan to actually purchase the home. So that's where your debt to income ratio is actually going to come into place. That's where your pay stubs, how long you've been on your job. Stability is a huge, that's a huge area that you want to make sure that the lenders are looking at, that you're stable, that you've actually been in your current residence where you are. That could be an apartment, wherever it is, that you've been in there at least for 2 years, been on your job at least for 2 years, and that you've been in the same career, consistently for 2 years as well. So it's a lot of things that the underwriter is going to start looking at that particular point. So you want to make sure that you're submitting all those documentations. You want to add to that?
I just want to add to that part. Don't think that you can get around income documentations and things like that, because there are forms that you have to complete that request your actual validation of your tax returns from the IRS. So the loan fraud is a big thing. So the least little thing that you might not think could affect you from getting approved for that loan, you have to be very conscious of it, because you don't want to get in trouble with loan fraud. The pay stubs, and when she was talking about being consistent at your job for 2 years, USDA has a stipulation on that. And if you're not at your job for 2 years, you have to be in the same line of work. So you can't, be switching jobs. And the moment you make up in your mind that you want to buy a house, then you know that you're going to be at your current job for at least another 2 years, because that's what they're looking for, stability, like you said.
And it was one other thing I was going to add, and it kind of slipped my mind. So make sure that you're consistent, okay, that you're stable with your job. It'll probably come back to me, but was really a huge point that I wanted to make. So whenever, I think it was about your realtor. Whenever you actually do that, do not go back and get any credit. You probably want to touch bases on that. Once you start getting this process going through with your loan, do not get any new credit. That's gonna mess everything up. It could knock your debt to income ratio out. It could lower your score, where it just makes you where you don't qualify for a loan anymore. So you want to
and don't close any credit,
right?
Because that could also drop your score. Really, whenever you go to your realtor with your pre-qualification, at that point you should not be pulling your credit anymore at all. That shows that you're in financial distress. Like she said, it can knock your debt to income ratio out, because you've added a new payment now. Your score is probably going to drop 10 to 15 points just from getting a new loan anyway. So you can get anything you want after you get your keys in your hand at loan closing.
Exactly.
But right now, it's not the time to pull your credit.
I actually had that to happen with the situation with the buyer that I was actually working with, and I told her, don't do anything. Don't go get any credit. Don't pull your credit. Don't purchase anything. Don't do anything. But she went and actually pulled a credit and got a credit card or something, and it just lowered her score and knocked her out. So she no longer qualifies. So now she has to wait for another 6 months, almost to a year, to get that score back up where she can actually purchase a home.
And they will pull your credit right before your loan closing. So if your loan closing is scheduled for tomorrow, they've probably pulled your credit again today, just to make sure that you still qualify for this loan. And that's what Stephanie is talking about. Now you're out your house. You lost everything. Money's invested in inspections and different things like that. That money is gone now. And you just wasted a lot of your time, and it's a lot of heartache and disappointment.
Because also too, whenever you actually do what we call a purchase to contract, there are certain what we call earnest monies, due diligence fees. There are certain dates and everything that you have to adhere to. So if that happens to happen and you wind up doing something that knocked you out from actually getting your loan, you owe that money. That's money that you're going to have to pay to that particular seller for them actually taking their home off the market, or actually you consuming their time or wasting their time because something that you actually was negligent in doing. So just kind of keep those things in mind. Again, your realtor and your lender should be able to go through all those things with you. So once you actually go through that process, they're actually going to do an appraisal. You want to make sure that the house that you're purchasing, the value is there, and that you're not going to be upside down in your home. That appraisal will actually go back to the lender, to the underwriter, to make sure that everything is fine with that. I'm kind of going through this a little quickly now. So once you get the appraisal and everything looks good, all the stipulations and everything has been approved with your underwriter, then we're going to actually get what they call a pre-closing. Okay, so and then you're going to get the final approval. You want to do a final walkthrough with your home to make sure if there was anything in your offer to purchase contract where certain things had to be done, or certain things needed to be met, like maybe the paint, or there was a hole there, or this needed to be done. That's where your final walkthrough actually comes into place, to make sure those things that was in your offer to purchase contract has actually been taken care of. So make sure that you do a final walkthrough. Once that final walkthrough is done, the lender is actually going to submit what they call a closing. Okay, so you're ready to close. So once the closing has actually been done, the lender is actually going to should send to the realtor and your closing agent what we call a settlement statement. The settlement statement is going to outline how much it is that you have to bring to close, and it's going to have the buyer side and the seller side, the debits and the credits, how much you actually need to bring to closing, how much, so your realtor should be able to go through all that with you. If there's anything wrong, I just got finished going through a closing a couple of weeks ago. There was a lot of things that was wrong on it, so we actually send that back to the lender. And I normally try to at least, they should, and all the time this does not happen, where you try to get your settlement statement at least 48 hours before closing, because if there's anything that does have to be adjusted, then it's not going to hold up the closing. And sometimes it works like that, sometimes it doesn't. So you want to make sure that your realtor, that your closing attorney is actually going over that information with you. And if there's something that's not right, then make sure that you bring it to the realtor's attention so that they can correct it. A new HUD state will be submitted. You're actually going to go to the closing table. Once ever, you're going to sign all those papers, you know,
For that
a lot
hour.
of signing.
For an hour, your fingers are going to cramp up.
Yeah, a lot of signing. And so once everything has been signed, it's actually going to go back to the lender. Your attorney should record it. Nothing is finalized until those keys are in hand. So once the loan and everything has been recorded, it's your property now. The keys are in hand and you're good to go. That's the brief synopsis of a home ownership process of how things actually work with that. You want to add some things? Yeah.
I don't think so right now.
Okay. Alrighty. So the next thing that we're going to actually go into, and this is really, really very important. I think this is really going to wrap everything up. Where we're going to be talking about communication is key. So I'm actually going to have Lucinda. She's going to start with that part.
All right, so I'll do 1 and 2. 3 and 4 since I can't relate.
Okay.
All right, so the first thing we want to talk about in the communication is key part is seeking a professional help. And there'll be some things that we know, some things that our family knows that when they bought their house in 1997 that is not relatable right now. So you want to rely on a professional for help in all of these areas that we covered from the very first class, whether it be budgeting. If you don't really know anything about credit, seek a professional there. Going back to opening your bank account, you know, go back to your banker, build that relationship, have the professional help from that type of person. You don't want to just rely on the internet or rely on what your cousin said or go on what you think you know whenever you're trying to be financially fit. And so get with your lender, ask lots of questions about your lending process. If you have any loans, if you need to do a bill consolidation, if you need to negotiate rates and different things like that, go to your lenders. You know, overcome those fears. If you don't ask the question, then everybody's just going to assume you know, or people will try to take advantage of you. So overcome the fear of, oh, they're going to think I'm crazy, or what the other person might think. They're there to help you. They're there, they're willing to help you. Some want to help you. If they don't want to help you, then that's not the person to help you. So you can seek, go to a different bank, go to a different lender. Don't be afraid. Get over the fear. Because a lot of times fear is what keeps us from pursuing anything in our life. Fear of budgeting, the word budgeting, fear of starting a new relationship, fear of buying a home, fear of going to open a bank account, fear of the unknown. So you want to make sure you get over the fear so that you can communicate effectively and so you can do your research.
And fear that you think you're just, I'm going to look stupid, or that's just going to be a stupid question, or they're going to think, and it's not. You know, don't worry about this, because you want to take this is your life.
Right.
So you want to make sure that you are investing in yourself, you know, and if they think that you're stupid, so what? It doesn't matter. The thing is, you want to make sure that you're getting the right information so that you can make an intelligent decision about what it is that you're actually trying to do.
Because all of these things that we've covered in the financial literacy class is it's a commitment. It can be a lifestyle change. It's going to be something new. It's going to be something that you probably never heard of, something that you never even thought you could own. You might not even thought you could own a home. You know, you might look around your family and say, oh, I've never owned a home, so you never even thought about it. But now, one day you get your budget together and everything, you open your bank account and you have a rapport with your lender, your banking institution, and you say, oh, I want to buy a house. You know, you have to get over that fear because it's going right back to it. You have to communicate openly, ask a lot of questions, and do your research. And the other part of that is convey what it is you want. So have a list of what you're looking for, back to the bank account, back to your home that you want to invest in. Have a list of these things that you want, because you don't want to go into a meeting with your lender now that you've gotten over the fear and you don't even know where to begin. So you have to be able to effectively communicate what it is that you want. If you don't want to be a homeowner, maybe you want to consolidate your credit. Maybe you want to clean your credit up. You have to know exactly what you want, so you won't be so fearful whenever you go in a meeting with your lenders or with the professional help. The next section we want to briefly go over, and because I'm single, I'm going to cover that because I can't relate to number 3 or 4. So I wanted to focus on the singles that are headed towards marriage, or if you're just single. So whenever you're single, you want to be an asset and not a liability in a relationship. So if you and your partner, you're into a relationship and you say, we want to move things forward. Now is the time for you to have these serious conversations. You don't want to get into the relationship and you don't know any of these answers to the questions that we're going to give you tonight. So the main thing as a single person, you want to be an asset and not a liability. You need to ask, how do you handle your finances? Do you have a financial plan? Do you have a retirement plan? What's your credit score? Do you know what credit is? What is your relationship with your money? And talk about your past, because a lot of things that we take into adulthood came from how, we talked about this a couple classes ago, came from how we grew up. So communicate with the person that you are going to make a lifetime commitment with and ask these questions so that you can build a healthy foundation together. Go ahead and get it right now. Maybe your boyfriend is the better person at handling the money. That's things that you all need to discuss before you get into a relationship. You need to know how they view their money, because you don't want to be financially fit and then you get to a relationship with somebody that just spends everything they make, basically throwing all their money out on the highway, wasting it. You need to have these conversations, because that relationship that you're going to enter in or you're pursuing possibly could end in marriage, or begin in marriage, how am I supposed to say that? So you want to have these conversations. If you're a single parent, Stephanie can touch on a little bit of this, but since you already have your children and you've been through this program for the last 3 weeks, and now you want a budget, you're going to have some communication with your children now, because your lifestyle might change, and Stephanie's going to touch on that a little later. So your lifestyle might change, so it has to be an open communication, back to getting over the fear of things and trusting who you're sitting there with in front of you at that time. So as a single, you want to be an asset and not a liability. If you view yourself as a liability now, it's not too late. That's the point of these classes. You can change your lifestyle, because now we have all of this material, all this information in front of us. Now we have to take it and apply it to our life. If somebody was having these classes with me when I was in my early 20s or my late teens, we might be in a better situation, but it's not too late. Now take the knowledge that you've learned as a single person, as an individual, and apply it to your life so you can move from being a liability to an asset, because it's not too late. You just have to make up in your mind and determine in your heart that you want to be an asset. Just even if you never get into a relationship for yourself, because I'm single, I have no kids, and I bought my own home by myself. So I was determined. I was one of those people. I never thought that I would own a home. Definitely didn't think I would build it. I had no idea because I looked around my family and my background, and I thought that I could never be that person. Sorry. I thought that I could never be that person. So if you don't do it for anybody else, do it for yourself. You know, get over the fear, have communication. Don't do it alone. Go back to the first thing we talked about, getting over the fear and seeking a professional, somebody that you can trust. And you might have somebody in your family like Stephanie or like myself that will be judgment-free, that you can go to and ask questions and say, look, this is where I am, can you help me? You can be vulnerable, so find somebody that you can be vulnerable with, and as a single person, now is the time for you to change your habits.
That's good. That was really, really good. I have to say, that was really good. Because whenever it comes to communication, you have to be transparent. And we're going to talk about that a little later, about being honest with yourself. You have to be honest. You have to, it's like you have to just lay all your cards on the table and say, okay, this is where I am, you know, and just be truthful with yourself. So that was really, really good. You want to, that was great, Lucinda. I want to talk about communication with your spouse. Finances, the top 3 causes for divorce is finances, infidelity, and communication. So finances, you want to make sure that you have a real good understanding and open communication with your spouse. So like Lucinda said, if you're single and you're headed towards marriage, now is the best time for you to actually just come clean, lay all your cards on the table, start talking about your finances. This is where I am. I got all this debt. I have this, you know, so that, okay, let's get this straightened out. If we still want to pursue this relationship, you know, seek someone who can actually do credit restoration, or you may not be that where you actually need to establish credit, you know, just make sure that you're open and honest with one another, so that whenever you do get to the point where you want to purchase a home or purchase a car or purchase any type of appliances or whatever it may be, then you're not going to be the holdup, and the person will be, you know, be caught off guard because you weren't honest. So you want to make sure that you're honest. So communication with your spouse, again, this should have been an open communication and dialogue that you had from the beginning, but if not, you want to start. So if you're actually in a marriage and you know that things are not going well, as far as you all may be just barely, you know, living paycheck to paycheck, you want to come together and say, okay, what is it that we can do, because it looks like that we're not making any type of progress. We need to come up with a plan, and actually the budget that you were actually talking about. Let's sit down and see this is what we have coming in. Let's see what we have going out. You know, so if we can actually trim down some of that fat, unnecessary fat that we have, that we can cut back on, maybe cable, or maybe going out to dinner all the time, or eating out all the time, versus, you know, fixing dinner or something like that. What are those things that we can actually cut back on to have us start putting back some things in a savings account? A credit card, we talked about that, the snowball effect, the avalanche, we talked about doing things like that. So you want to make sure that you actually start having those conversations. Again, you have to be honest and open with one another, and you have to stick with the plan. If that's something that you're going to want to do, you have to stick with it. You can't deviate. And it is a process. It's nothing that's actually going to happen overnight. You didn't get into it overnight, and you're not going to get out of it overnight. Amen. So you want to make sure that you're actually sticking to the plan, that you're going through the process, that you are actually committed to it, you know, and then go back and evaluate. And if you actually see, okay, we do see progress where this is actually working. So, and you know, and congratulate yourself, you know, celebrate your accomplishments. And make sure that you continue to do that, and maybe you can revisit it. If you need to tweak something that's not working correctly, then make sure that you actually do that. But you want to make sure that you actually have communication and have a plan that that you want to go. Well, we want to save up for a home, or we want to save up for a car, or we want to save up for a vacation, or we want to save so our children can actually, you know, go to college and not have to get a lot of loans and things like that. So you want to make sure that you put those plans in place and stick with it. So you have anything you want to add to that?
That's good. You can make sure I have this conversation.
The next thing we want to talk about is communication, and Lucinda touched on this a little bit, communication with your children. So if you're married, you know, or single, you want to make sure that you include the whole family, because it's going to be a change, and it's going to be a change in the family dynamic.
Right.
So whenever that actually begins to happen, you and your spouse are talking, or you've actually, if you're a single parent, you decided yourself that, okay, I have to do something different, you want to schedule a family meeting. So you want to sit down and say, okay, there's some things that we have to do different, because I want us to start saving money. I want us to actually go on a vacation. I don't want to live paycheck to paycheck. I want to make sure that we have a retirement plan. I want to make sure that I'm able to get you all through college without you having to, you know, get loans. I want to make sure that, you know, that we become a homeowner. So you want to sit down and have that conversation with your family as a family unit, and let your family know, because of that, there are some things that's going to have to change, and get their input, get their buy-in. So if you're used to maybe having your cell phone, you may have a cell phone, you know, that may have to get cut off. You know, if you're used to buying Gucci and Versace and all those things, all those name brand clothes, you know, that's going to have to stop. We're not going to be able to do that. If you're used to going to the movies or going out to dinner, you know, those things are going to have to, you know, come down a little bit. We're not going to have to be able to do that anymore. As far as movie night, things like that, going out, what can we do to make it, still make it fun, where it's not just so boring and like we're so tight and so rigid that we're not going to be able to do anything. You can become creative, you know, where you can actually start doing things as a family, where you can be more interactive. You know, we can learn how to play games or
talent shows at home, movie night with the red box, $1.
Right.
Go to the dollar store and get some treats. You can do movie night at home together instead of going out to the movies.
So make it a family, you know, get your family involved and everything like that. And then once they actually see that you're actually, again, stick with your plan, making sure that when you see that money that you're not doing those things, put that money back in your savings account. Don't touch it. Make sure you put it back into your savings account. And then if you actually can come and actually show your family, because we've done this, look how much we've actually saved. You know, we're actually able to pay this off. Now we can actually take a vacation where we want to go. We can actually use this money as a down payment on our home, or we can now afford to actually purchase this vehicle. So again, you want to make sure that you actually stick to the plan, that you show your family where things are actually, you know, going into the positive and it's making a difference, and evaluate the plan. Again, celebrate your successes, okay? Celebrate your accomplishments.
And I just want to add too, it just came to me from a banking perspective. I see this a lot. We have the different, the spouse relationships coming in where the man made the majority of the money, and the wife pays all the bills. But if she passes away, she has no clue what they owe.
Yeah, we see that a lot.
She has no clue how to pay the bills because she never had to. So whenever you're having a conversation with your spouse, and you know, have a calendar or a list made out, some kind of spreadsheet, so just in case, you're the man might be the more financial, bringing in the bacon, but she is the one, you know, that was the woman. Anyway, okay, so she's the one paying the bills. So if she passes away, then he should be able to still pick up and live the life, pay the bills effectively, you know, instead of having to search around, look on the bank statement and see where the mortgage is and different things like that. We have a lot of people that come when one person only does all the finances and the other person has no clue. So make sure you have a calendar, go over it with your spouse maybe, or have that information somewhere just in case something happens to one another, hospitalized or something like that, loses a job, anything. Any life experiences, make sure they know exactly who you owe how much and when it's due and things like that. That's from the banking aspect.
Yeah, we do. We see that quite a bit where one spouse they have no clue about what is being done, and you don't want to do that. Again, that's where communication is so important. You know, you want to make sure, I mean, again, like Lucinda said earlier, if one of you are more strong with handling finances and paying bills, then play to each other's strengths. You know, you may be strong in that area, and the other person may be strong in that area, but make sure that everyone is knowledgeable and have an understanding as far as everything all the different things that's going on within your home, so that whenever one spouse, unfortunately does pass away, then the other ones, have no clue that they will still be able to carry on and keep the family going and functioning, like it should be. Did you want to add something to the communication with your children?
I do like what Stephanie said about, going back and showing the family how far we've come from when we started, making all these sacrifices, because now there is a benefit to the sacrifice. At first you was like, oh, we can't go to eat out pizza on Fridays anymore, but then when they see the long-term effect of it, then it's not such a drag. And whenever you're teaching your kids this at a young age, they're watching you, and so this is going to trickle down throughout the years. This isn't just for your family, it's going to be for your children's family too, because now Mom and Dad have had these conversations with us. Mom and Dad have taught us how to pay bills. They didn't know anything about that. Oh, we have this, that, and the other. So the communication with bills and everything else that you have going on, emotions and all that, is not just for that particular family. It's to impact generations to come in your family. So that's definitely important to have the kids involved in it. You don't have to go into detail and say, we owe $115,000 left on our house, but you can tell them, look, we have a big responsibility, and it's our job to trim in the areas we need to, so that we can live a free life, or free lifestyle, because it's just temporary. The adjustments could be just temporary. They're not permanent. So it's good that you get the kids involved.
That's good. That's good. And then the last one is communication with yourself. And this is where I think where I was saying that you have to be honest with you. You got to be honest, and you have to have a plan. If you actually see where there's something that you want to achieve personally in life, where again you want to become a homeowner, you want to go on a nice vacation, you want to get out of debt, whatever the case may be, you want to make sure that you create a plan, and that there's a saying, I don't know who actually had this saying, but to thine own self be true. So you want to make sure that you are really honest with yourself, because a lot of times we don't want to confront our issues. We don't want to deal with those things. We just want to sweep those under the rug and really not confront what it is that we're dealing with, and pass it off to everybody else and say, well, that's their problem, or blame everybody else for when we have to take responsibilities for what it is, that we're actually trying to accomplish. So you want to make sure that you create a plan. Again, everything comes with a plan. I think there's a couple of scriptures that I want to pull out, and it's really, really good, and it actually is universal, where it says that without a vision, the people perish. And that's basic, then without a plan. Without a plan, you gotta have a plan to know what it is that you actually want to accomplish. And there's another scripture that comes to mind where it says that my people are destroyed for lack of knowledge. And so if you don't understand something, you wanna make sure that you have the knowledge of that. But also too, you take it a step further where it says, in all they're getting, get an understanding. So you want to make sure that you have an understanding, that you have an application, how to apply the knowledge that you've actually learned. I think that's called wisdom. So once you actually have the knowledge, and you can actually apply that knowledge to what it is that you actually want to do strategically, that's called wisdom. So you want to make sure that all the things that you've actually learned and acquired here, that you're taking that information, you're actually putting that into your plan, and actually trying to see that actually through. So you want to create a plan, you want to stick to your plan, you want to make sure that your plan is realistic. Don't try to do something, I want to be debt free by such and such a time, and it's not a realistic thing, and actually it's going to create a lot of pressure on you. So make sure that your plan is realistic. Again, celebrate your accomplishments, whatever those accomplishments may try to be, or whatever those accomplishments are. And also too, I think it's good to have an accountability partner. Have someone that's going to hold you accountable. Have someone that's actually going to hold you accountable as far as what it is that you're actually trying to do. I think my sister is a good one who actually holds me accountable sometimes. Like if I want to maybe lose some weight or certain things like that, we may check in with one another and say, how are you doing today, or what's going on today, or did you do this today? So make sure that you have an accountability partner who's actually they can check in and say, well, how things going with you as far as what it is that you're trying to achieve. Okay, and the thing is, you want to make sure that you start.
Yeah.
We can talk about
Amen.
all this, we can talk about all this, but you know what? You got to implement it. You got to start. So once you actually start, make sure that you go through the process and see it through completion.
And don't stop everything cold turkey, because that goes back to being realistic. If you eat out 7 days out of the week, start cutting back and eating out 2 days a week. Because if you stop completely, you're not going to stay on your budget. You're going to be discouraged. You're like, I can't do it. So don't quit everything cold turkey. And that's what Stephanie is talking about. You have to be realistic in this thing. And the budget is going to change every month. You might get a bonus, so you might have a little extra to put towards the debt or to put towards your savings. But let's be realistic. If you've been doing really well and you got a good momentum going, take everybody out for ice cream or something. Do something, small to celebrate that victory. And then that way too, you whenever we get treats, we're more likely to, stick to it. And then that'll get the kids back excited, oh wow, now we can go out for pizza tonight. But the budget's gonna change every month. And the realistic part goes back to what Stephanie talked about in the earlier class about the SMART plan. It has to be timely and all of that. It definitely has to be realistic, or you're not gonna stick to any of this stuff that we're talking about in this class this time.
And like I said, all the information that we've given to you is really great, but if you don't take the information and start to apply it and actually start doing it, it's not going to do you any good. So you want to, while it's actually fresh, it's just like when you take a test, when it's actually fresh in whenever you're studying and everything for a test, you want to make sure that you take the test right away. Like if you're doing online courses and if you're studying for real estate classes, things like that, they always tell you, hurry up once you take the test, once you pass the classroom test, go ahead and do the state test because it's fresh in your mind. So the same thing with this, we've actually gone through all of these things with you. So once you have this information and have this knowledge, make sure that you start utilizing it. That you apply it, that you work it. It'll work if you work it. So you want to make sure that you're actually doing that, okay? Information is great, but if you don't apply the information that you've learned, it's null and void.
Yeah, and these classes are here for you. The information is here for you for free, and it's very valuable. Ultimately, you want to have peace. You want to have a freedom. And if you take these things and apply them, you can eventually get there. You might not be there in a year, but you will eventually get to freedom. You're just going to feel so good when you pay off that first credit card. That's the accomplishment piece of it. And so just everything is temporary. The setbacks and different things like that, they're temporary. If you choose to look at it that way. If you go into this thing feeling defeated already, you're not going to stick with anything we said. So you have to change your mentality about what you've heard about budgeting, what you've heard about home ownership, what you've heard about keeping your money in a financial institution. Some people don't like banks. Also what you've heard about communication. Yes, you should be discussing these things in relationships and marriages and with the kids and everything. Whenever everybody's involved like that, it makes it easier to go through it. We go through it together. So communication is a big piece to all of this, because without getting over your fear and communicating with your lender, with your banker, with your accountability partner, with your family member that you trust, then I was wrong with that, but yeah, you can't start this stuff and be effective in it.
So this basically wraps up everything for us. Is there any questions that anyone want to have that they may want to give us?
From any of the classes.
Yeah, any of the classes.
From any of the classes, from the budgeting, from the credit.
We have 6 sites watching.
Wow. Oh, hey everybody.
So ask everybody, I just sent my phone number, and so if they want to text or they can type it in.
Okay. Questions from any of the classes about credit, budgeting, opening a bank account, home ownership, any of that stuff.
Communication.
Communication. Yeah. being single.
Question about being single.
Yep, finances only. No relationship advice. Finances only, credit only. How to establish credit, how you can establish. Okay.
How do we contact you if we want to open an account? If
Okay.
you'll repeat the question.
Okay, the question is, how do you contact Lucinda or myself if you want to open up an account?
What's the phone number?
Lucinda and I, we work for Capital Bank, and so her number is 919-718-1081. 919-718-1081.
And I'm located at 2917 South Horner Boulevard in Sanford.
And my information, Stephanie, my number is, like I said, we both work for Capital Bank, is 919-718-1084.
What's your address?
And my address is 130 North Steel Street. That's in Sanford as well.
What, Steel?
130 North Steel,
S-T?
S-T-E-E-L-E.
E-E-L?
L-E.
And that's Sanford?
That is Sanford. And Lucinda's was 2917.
Yep. And you only need $100. Some accounts maybe 50 to open an account. We
Like
don't.
I said, Lucinda and I, we are very passionate about what it is that we do, and we want to make sure that we are with you through every stage of your life. We want to make sure that if there's anything that I always tell customers this whenever I'm waiting on anything that you need help with. I don't care how small you think it may be.
Right.
Call me. Give me a call. Don't think that anything is too small or it's not it's not important. If it's pertaining to you and where it's going to actually help you, or something that may hurt you, if you have any questions, make sure that you reach out to us and let us know. But we want to make sure that we're with you through every phase and every stage of your life, and also with your children as well. We want to make sure that we're there for you. My thing is, if I can't help you, I'm definitely not going to hurt you. But I'll make sure that I put you in contact with someone who can actually make sure that they're doing the best for you.
And I just want to just put one more thing in the communication with your banker and lender. And there are a lot of scams, financial scams going on right now. It's at an all-time high, fraud and different things. So you should ask your lender. If you have a phone call and they say, you won $20,000, but we need you to send us $1,000. 10 times out of 10, that's a scam. So like if you get a phone call or something like that, an email, and somebody's asking for your personal information, say, I can't give it to you right now, let me call you back or something, and then get right on the phone. Call me or Stephanie, even if you don't bank with us. Call your financial institution and say, hey, somebody called me and they're requesting my social security number, my bank routing number, my account number. Or you're sitting at your laptop that day and it freezes up and you need to contact Microsoft. That's a scam. Shut your computer down. Do not give these people any information. And then if you don't feel comfortable with it, please call first. Do not give them your routing and account number, your debit card information without contacting your banking institution. Go to a computer specialist, going back to the professional, and say, look, I think I got a virus. Do not handle anything over the phone with Microsoft and whomever. Be very conscious of scams. Do not give out your banking information to somebody you do not know. Don't leave your banking information laying around your home if you know you keep company in and out. You don't want to take for granted that nothing's going to happen because that's your nephew or your niece or your daughter or your cousin. Their friends might come over. Keep your social security numbers and banking information in your room locked up. Shred all of your paperwork that has your information on, your social, your date of birth. Even magazines. My dad, he's scared. So he takes the front cover off a magazine because it has his name and address on it. He shreds that. Throw the other magazine away. These magazines that come with pre-approval like Finger Hut, take the inside of that thing out with the order form, shred that, throw it away. Just be conscious of fraud, scams, identity theft is at an all-time high. We touched on that earlier in one of the classes. So make sure you're protecting your assets, your information, what you've built over the years, because it is easy for somebody to take your information, but it is timely and costly, and it's going to cause you a lot of harm if somebody creates identity theft problem for you. You're going to have to prove who you are, even though they stole it from you. It's a pain. So protect your information at all costs. I want to add that in there.
And this season is really high.
It's an all-time high
you got
right
the
now.
cyber, where you can actually go on cyber purchases and things like
on
that.
the internet,
on the internet. So this season is really, really high. So you just want to make sure that you're very alert about that.
Okay, I have two questions. The first question is, how often should a family meeting be held?
Well, it depends on you. It depends. Okay, the question is, how often should a family meeting be held? It actually depends on you. You know, you may want to start, again, you want to do the pulse check as far as what you think that may be. It depends on the severity, how quickly you want to start doing it. I would think, again, it depends on you. I would probably do it maybe once a week. Just once a week, start out, see how things are going, just to try to do a trial run. This is what we're going to do. We're going to cut back on this. You're having a family meeting, so we'll meet back up to see how things went the following week. You did it on a Monday. We're going to follow back up on the following Monday to see how everything went that week. So again, it will actually depend on you, where you can actually judge that.
I would definitely agree with that every week in the very beginning, because do you want to check back into with your children and their emotions? They're not going to understand this adult stuff. So from a child's perspective, you want to meet as often as you can. Make sure that child understands they can come to you with questions, because they might not understand they cannot have $10 for the book club or the book fair. Or they can't understand that they can't go to the dance. So in the very beginning of this lifestyle change, I think every week should suffice to answer any questions, to see their emotional, how they're feeling about it, their concerns, and then the parents can go and meet together privately. And then the next week can say, okay, we heard your concerns, so this is what we're going to do, and this is what we're doing. So in the beginning, then as time goes on and everybody's adjusting, then maybe you can change it to every 30 days, because the budget changes every month or every 2 weeks, however you get paid sometimes. So yeah, that's really good. I was just going to say, because you want to check back in with those children that they don't understand what's going on, especially if you have kids involved.
That was good. I have another question. Do you encourage children to have a savings account at a bank? Will you repeat the question?
Do you encourage children to have a savings account at a bank?
Okay, so I'm really passionate about this. This goes back to communication and changing the generation. So whenever they're small and they get all of this money from their birthday, let's use that for an example. So you open up an account for them, you take them to the bank, and then you have the banker explain to them what a savings is and why they should be saving and how they can save. And if they're doing anything to earn money, a portion of that, you can tell, okay, we're going to go to the bank today and make a deposit. So it can already get these children set up for a really good future, because you're teaching them now how to save, when you might not have been taught that. But now your children, all they thinking now, oh, I got $50 for my birthday, I need to go to the bank and make a deposit. And they get excited about it. The kids come to the bank and they're excited about opening their own savings account. So let them be involved as much as possible when it comes to finance and when it comes to a savings. I think it's very important to start them with a savings, and they can start as soon as they're, I would say, well, they can start as a child. You can start it whenever they're born. But whenever they're at the age where they can understand, maybe in kindergarten, then you can let them come with you in the bank and say, okay, you got $75 for your birthday. we're going to put some of that money into your bank account, and then you can spend some of it. So you want to teach them early. The earlier the better, because that way when they get into high school, they can pay cash for their car or something like that, or put it towards college or books, or if they want to go and do something special as a senior or something like that. This whole time they built and accumulated this wealth. And then now they have either money to take to college, money to buy their own first car, and then you want to incorporate at the later ages to do the credit stuff. But you can just add to that.
And you're teaching proper financial management.
Yep, proper financial management.
And now whenever they do open up an account, it's called a junior savings or custodial savings. They do not own that account. You as the parent or you as the adult, you own that account. It's basically your account, because they're not an adult where they can actually sign off or take or anything like that. But you would be the one to actually have to assist them as far as, if they happen to come and want to take something out or put something in, you will assist with that, but they do not have any rights to it because you're the owner of the account. But you're teaching responsible financial management, and that's basically what we want to do. We want to make sure that we actually get everybody at a very young age. And if we do that now, listen people, if we do that now, think about how we will help the U.S. come out of debt. If we teach on proper financial management, because we know that the U.S., that we're in $1 trillion deficit because we're actually spending more than what we have. But if we can actually get to the youth and actually teach them how to manage properly, that's going to actually let them know, no, I'm not going to go out and get something that I can't afford. I'm not going to create a debt that's going to actually make me where I'm I can't afford to actually take care of that. So I'm going to be responsible and live within my, spend within my range, so that I'm not going to create a deficit or something like that. It's actually going to hurt me, or where I'm actually going to become going foreclosure or bankruptcy or something like that. But I'm actually going to manage my debt responsibly. And if we actually teach that now to our kids while we're young, and if we learn that ourselves, it's going to help create or actually diminish the deficit, that we as a country that we're actually in. So,
and then as a young child, and you taking them into the bank and you opening them a savings account and letting them deposit, they don't have a fear as an adult to go and have communication at the bank and ask questions, because they've done that as a child, and now they're becoming adult, and you've just saved the child from years of stuff that we have to detox from. You've just saved them from that. So it's very important to start them. I say is you can start the account whenever you have their social.
Right.
But back to the question, as far as the child having a savings, I think you should start taking them in the bank at kindergarten, because at that age is very vital. That's when they're remembering stuff, they're super excited, and then you get a lollipop while you're in the bank.
So another question, are there tax implications
for
when opening children's accounts, like for the parents?
Okay, so on the interest, okay, so are there any tax implications for the child's savings account? Now, the adult is responsible for the account. So if they earn typically over $10 in interest, there will be a form sent for them to file with their tax return. So, but when you're talking about $10 in interest, we're talking about just $1,000, thousands of dollars in that savings. A savings normally accrues about 0.15 or 0.30% interest. So it's going to take some time to build over that $10 cutoff. So yes, there are, depending on the amount of money in an account, how much interest they've earned over that 12-month period. So you will as a parent get the form to file all your tax returns. But that's it, nothing for the child. Not
right.
And you want to be very conscious of this, because you're opening that account for that child, and you don't want to do your child disservice, because life happens, and if you mess up their bank account, that's going to follow them into adulthood. And I'm just trying to be realistic here. So if you find yourself in a situation where you are having a hard time, you don't want to overdraw that child's account. Don't pay any of your personal things out of your child's account. Strictly keep that for your child. Strictly keep that for them, because you don't want this to follow what you may have done because of life situations to follow them as an adult, and they can't open a bank account.
Right. Integrity, I think we spoke on that.
That's all.
No, I don't have any more questions right now.
Okay, well, we're
Can
waiting for some more
Can I-
questions to come
You
in.
say something about Chatham literacy?
Come on, yeah, I was gonna say, yeah, Vicki was saying, say something about what can we say about Chatham literacy? It's awesome, absolutely awesome. This was a magnificent program, and I just want to thank Holy Trinity in Silo City, Word of Life Christian Center in Siler, and Liberty Chapel Church in Moncure. And I understand that there's some other areas, some other locations. Also, Vicki, did they identify where they are? We're here in Pittsboro at the community college. And we want to, of course, once again, to thank Chatham Literacy for setting up this, everything you want to know about managing your money. So I think that you learned that in addition. And again, from Capital Bank, Lucinda McLean, and her number is right up here on the board, 919-718-1081. And Stephanie Peterkin, 919-718-1084. And Capital Bank is located at 130 North Steele Street in Sanford, North Carolina. So if you have any additional questions, I'm quite sure that you could be texted
Absolutely.
at that number,
you could be
or
called.
be called.
And we have voicemails though.
Okay, so call. I said text. Don't text. It's not. It's a landline.
landline.
Landline. It's a landline. Don't text. Okay. So please be sure to call either one of these just phenomenal advisors if you have any questions at all. And Chatham Literacy, you've just outdone yourself, and this is truly a community service. Just above and beyond. I'm quite sure that people would have thought that you would have embarked upon, because of course they get involved in teaching English, reading, citizenship, and other life skills. But I think that you found out from these 3 seminars that were conducted that understanding credit, understanding how to purchase a home, those are life skills that are absolutely necessary. And in addition, those of you who are renting, rents are going up, they're not going down. And I'm quite sure that they can tell you that many of you are probably paying rent, and you could probably easily be paying your own mortgage. In fact, your mortgage would probably even be less. That happened with my granddaughter. The mortgage is like $300 less than what her
We
rent.
talked about that too, rent versus a home ownership.
Home ownership
Yeah.
and the tax advantages and all. So this was like really, really just absolutely excellent. Okay, any more questions? And
It's very interesting. I just want to give a shout out. We do have Kumiho Resources watching.
Okay.
And I think Kumiho Resources has something to do with Korea. So I don't know if you're in Korea, watching from Korea.
oh, if you are watching from another country or you're here, Kumio Resources, welcome.
Yeah. So,
I hate they came in the last class.
Yeah, I wonder if they were able to see from the very beginning. Hi out there.
but
It's really nice.
all very interesting. So,
Yes.
Yeah, thank you guys.
Vicky, you want to come up? The director?
And
Here's our leader here.
yeah, while she's coming up, I just want to say thank Chatham Literacy for giving Stephanie and I the
Absolutely.
opportunity
Thank
to
you.
teach and share experiences and to encourage you all for the last three sessions that we had. I really have enjoyed this. This is my first time being satellite, so this is exciting. I really hope and pray that we have said something to make you think outside the box, feel strengthened and renewed. You can have a better lifestyle with the proper communication and change your thoughts. So I am so grateful that Chatham Literacy Program chose us to do the class for you all.
Right. And I just want to echo basically what Lucinda said. Thank you all so much. We really appreciate it. Thank you for the opportunity. And like she said, we pray that you were really blessed and that you actually learned something where you can apply it and it can make a difference in your life, you know, for the better. And if there's anything, you know,
Yeah.
if you ever need us again, we'll be more than happy to help out again. We can go deeper, you know, we can definitely take a deeper dive into a lot of this. But thank you so much for allowing us the opportunity.
Well, thank. Oh yeah. Well, Lucinda and Stephanie, I think, hit it out of the ballpark. You guys have been amazing and wonderful. I've enjoyed it, and I've learned so much. I do want to say that we are working with Stephanie and Lucinda to do something again in the spring. And so I don't know, yeah, it'll be great. I don't know what the dates are yet, but as Stephanie mentioned, we want to go deeper. We want to continue to help. And one thing I want you guys to do is please, what will help us determine that and our direction in the future is the evaluation. Please complete the evaluation and give it to your proctor, the person who is at your site, your facilitator. And 2 questions also are, I would like guidance and help regarding improving my credit score. Give your number and name if that's something you do want help with. And also I would like guidance and help regarding buying a home. So those are things that we have facilitators, we have Lucinda, we have Stephanie. You know, we do want to continue to help.
Right.
We take this very seriously. We didn't want to just kind of give you a little and then not to just take it away. We want to really help you help yourself and get in a different place.
Yes.
So thank you, you guys.
Thank
You're
you.
wonderful.
Thank you. It's been
This
a
has been
pleasure.
wonderful. Thank you, everyone.
Thank you.
Thank you. See you next time.
Is there one question?
Camille is out of Greensboro, North Carolina.
Oh, Greensboro,
Oh,
North Carolina.
Greensboro?
Okay, not Korea.
Yeah, not quite, just a little bit close. Very short flight.
Thanks, you guys.
Thank you.
All right, did we stop it?
All righty.
Do